3 golden rules to make a thumbnail or ad very effective. If you're looking to get more clicks to your YouTube videos or more clicks to your Facebook or LinkedIn ads, then this video is for you. In this video, we will cover how you can make an effective thumbnail and heading for YouTube and what sort of elements and principles you need to know about to make them as effective as possible in terms of getting clicks. But I'll also cover how you can nail this process when you're doing a Facebook ad, some of the elements in here, and how you can also do this one effectively. But before we get into this, I just really want to cover click-through rate. So obviously click-through rate, for those who don't know, is basically what is the percentage of clicks you get on your YouTube or Facebook ad in comparison to the amount of people that see it. So for example, if you get a 10% click-through rate, that means out of 100 people, 10 people will click on your thumbnail. The reason I'm showing this bell curve is because in marketing, everything that in terms of results, it's all a bell curve. You have the top performers that are usually the 20% that perform at the best, whether it's click-through rate, whether it's conversions, whether it's other KPIs in marketing. And then you have the middle and the bottom, which usually make up 80% of the total bell curve. Before we get into this video, I just want to go through what is click-through rate and just a little bit about the bell curve. So just so you understand what we're doing in this video, we're basically focusing on improving the click-through rate, which is a really, really important indicator for any sort of content you create out there, whether it's ads, whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's content. Basically, we're going to try to optimize the amount of clicks we get on those pieces of content that you're creating. Just in general, anything in marketing is a bell curve, right? There's the high-performing campaigns or high-performing videos in terms of click-through rates, or the low-performing ones that usually make up the 20% of the low, 60 to 20%, so 80% in total are usually average to low performance, and the top 20% are the ones that get really, really good results. So just in general, a click-through rate is basically how much percentage of people that actually see your video or ad actually click on to see what else, to discover more information. If you're doing pretty bad with your ads or YouTube videos, usually the click-through rate, is around 0.1%. So out of 100, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people click on it. You have a really good hook in your advertising or YouTube videos, then obviously based on that, your click-through rate, which is really good, out of 100 people, you would usually get like 7 or 10 people clicking through it. So I just wanted to cover this because this is basically applies to almost everything we do in terms of marketing. It's a bell curve. We either get really, really, really good results or we get average or bad results. So today we're going to focus on how we can get really good results in terms of your hook. But I will not only cover the information or some principles, I'll actually give you a very powerful trick or tool you can do once you finish your thumbnail or ad to assess it against 3 simple questions that will basically put you at that top of that bell curve and get you some really good results. So let's get started. So I'll start with the YouTube thumbnail elements first, and then we'll go into the Facebook elements. And first of all, why do we need an image in our thumbnail? And it's very much visual relevance. Visual relevance is obviously we try to hook our main audience. That's the main purpose of the visual in your thumbnail. So for example, if you're making videos about traveling to certain areas and you're making a video about Japan, obviously you would want the visual to represent Japan. So let's say you are doing a video about Tokyo, you would obviously have an image that represents maybe a big well-known scenery of Tokyo. And that way people who are looking for videos about Tokyo or like information about Tokyo, that will stop them in their track, okay? So the whole point of the image is really to capture people's attention, specifically the people that are interested in the topic that you're presenting. That's all the visual element is about. Now, there is another element that a lot of people these days include in their visual representation of the thumbnail, and that is the heading. Now, you'd be surprised that usually people don't even read your heading of your video if your thumbnail and that element are capture the person's attention, provide enough context for what the video is about. So do I need to always have like a wording in my thumbnail, or do I just use the heading alone? It's a very good question. If you are using the image alone without the heading, then you would want your heading to be very complementary of the image that you represent and provide more context. If you are using both the heading and the image, then usually the heading provides more context to what you're already representing. Basically, what you want is that if you have an image, your heading has to have really good context and have to have a really good hook. So that's basically all the elements that you need to include in the thumbnail. So overall, if you have a thumbnail and it doesn't have any wording in it, your heading has to be very complementary complementary and to create curiosity with that image. If you have an image and wording within that image, you might find that that would be enough to capture people's attention and get a click. And the heading you can use for more context or create more intrigue about the topic. We'll cover that in a sec, but I just wanted to give you that information because you only essentially need two important elements in terms of getting a click. So that's the image and the context of what you are going to show in that video or ad. Now we'll go into Facebook. So when we're talking about Facebook ads, if you look at the YouTube one, you can see that we basically have similar elements, three elements: the visual representation, visual relevance, the curiosity element, which usually 1 to 4 words in thumbnails. Here you can add a bit more words. We'll talk about that in a sec as well. And then you have the heading. The heading usually is supposed to basically call people to action. So if you, for example, have a webinar, so you would say in the heading, free webinar, marketing expertise or something like that. You would want like something that captures people's attention and leads them to action. Now, the reason I put the description in red and the button in red is because if you think about it, not many people actually look at the description when they look at an ad. Only 10 to 15% actually open to read more the description. So it doesn't have high relevance. What you want to use the description for is to give more context, more information about your offer, especially if it is a complex offer or you need to go into details. If it's an event or something like that, that's where you put all that information. But essentially, when I'm talking about the button, obviously these are pre-selected in Facebook, learn more, buy now, register now, apply now. You basically have to select the call to action that is most complementary to what you're offering. But similar to the YouTube thumbnail, visual relevance, you want to have an image that captures people's attention. And then the curiosity heading, again, we'll go into that, what sort of words combination you should be using, how many words you should be using. And then obviously the heading, like I mentioned, like usually Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever ad you're using, the heading of those ads has to just say, what's the offer and a call to action. In this video, what I want to achieve is to show you the test, like a very, very simple test you need to do in order to confirm if your thumbnail or ad is going to be very effective. So you can basically ask the right question from the thumbnail you created or the campaign you created and be like, am I hitting 2 of the 3? And if you're hitting 2 of the 3, then you got yourself a good combination. But let's jump into the first golden rule. And the first golden rule is to create curiosity. So basically your thumbnail or Facebook ad needs to achieve curiosity, and that's basically getting the people who see it question something in their head, whether it's a how, what, or why question. So let's see some examples and unpack that. If we go to this one, you'll see that without the heading, these individuals can already achieve that question, and that's why sometimes people don't even read the heading. They just click on the thumbnail without even reading the heading. In this particular example, obviously Alex Hormozi is already like a very famous sort of guy on YouTube, like the visual relevance. So obviously if they see it as a thumbnail, they're like, oh, okay, this is Alex Hormozi, he has some good content. Don't buy stocks. Usually the words you put in the thumbnail, don't make them more than 4 words. 4 words max, 1 to 3 words, and you need to be able to create curiosity with those words. So don't buy stocks, obviously that's a pretty big statement. Why? Why not to buy stocks? What's the reason? If you are able to see that and be like, okay, as my visitor is asking themselves a question about my thumbnail, then you're already achieving the first golden rule. Let's have a look at another one. So prepare yourself. You said only 2 words. Prepare yourself for what? So obviously the visual relevance, we're looking Solana coin. What are we preparing ourselves for? He's basically hitting the question of what? What are we preparing ourselves? So you basically, with your thumbnail and the words in it, you need to create that curiosity of getting the visitors to ask that question. Let's look at another one. Broke. So visual relevance. Obviously, Mr. Beast, he's probably the biggest one out there. Broke. This creator used one word, broke. And obviously that's like, what? What do you mean broke? He's over 300 million subscribers. How can he be broke? Okay, so we're asking ourselves how? How can he be broke? So again, if you're able to achieve that reaction from people when they look at your thumbnail by making them question something, you already have like a really good setup for a thumbnail. So in these 3 examples, what you saw is the thumbnail, which creates the curiosity of a very important question, and then the heading gives a bit more context about what the video is about. But the catch was very much in the thumbnail, creating that curiosity. Now, these thumbnails actually achieve another one of the golden rules I'll talk about, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a sec, but let's have a look at the Facebook ads. So similar thing, visual representation, obviously we're looking at someone who's exercising, eating a burger, which is not healthy, and then make you question. So what is the text that makes you question? So you don't have to miss out on food you love. Free webinar. So obviously that's the case. Like, how can I not miss out on junk food or food that is not so healthy while still being fit? Free webinars. That's the curiosity. That was the how question. Next, design. Make you question. Try my deepest and most transformative program I've created. So before and after, tap to explore and join. Basically, you ask yourself, what is this program that you created that is able to make me look a little bit more balanced? So that's also a very good ad that's getting a lot of engagement actually. So now that I removed the heading so we can focus on that a little bit, you can see that what I've mentioned before. So what is the call to action? To join our free neurometabolism adaptation webinar. So it's just a call to action to what their offer. So what is the offer? Is a free webinar, and then the action, join now, sign up. Nice and easy. Same thing, how to create beautiful, systematic and youthful face. So they don't really have a call to action here, but they do say like, okay, this is the question that we're answering, learn more. I usually would say something along the lines like, discover our program and learn more, and maybe give them like, is it a webinar? Is it this? Like, it's always better to be very transparent with the people that you're trying to advertise to and tell them what you're offering instead of creating the curiosity thing, so it doesn't feel vague. Now I'm going to jump into the second golden rule of how to create contrast and the different ways you can do it. Creating contrast is about making people curious about something you found. As simple as that. There's 6 ways to do it. For example, the fortune teller. The next 2 months of crypto will be a lot different than last year. You see how I sort of speculate what will happen? For example, next year's electric cars will be the solution to our problems or something like that. It's very much about what is going to happen, and I'm sort of seeing the future, giving like contrast of this is where we're at, but in the future it will look completely different. The experimenter, for example, is I've tested this new SEO tool and it doubled my leads or doubled my traffic, or I checked out Google's new product and it completely revolutionized the way I work. So it's like I've tested something and it completely changed what I usually get or the results that I get. By creating contrast of this is where I am, I tried this, this is what I got, or this is where we're at, this is where I see things going, that's the contrast, okay? And you can achieve that in an image or even in a heading. So you can actually create that contrast, and I'll show you a Facebook ad as well, but you can actually achieve that not just with an image, but also with the heading. Can you see the contrast here? It's pretty simple, no? So create a 1, got this, create a 2, got that. So you can see that there's a contrast there in the image. Next one. So day 1, okay, this is how I started surfing. Day 2, on the board. So there's a contrast there. You can see the same thing here, you know, $300 beekeeping to $30 million. Obviously, that's what the video is going to talk about how you can maybe scale a business. We'll see that in a sec when we look at the heading. You probably noticed it, but there's a lot of images that create contrast with just having like half of the screen showing you one thing and half of the screen showing you another thing. Basically, leverage that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you're creating thumbnails or ads with contrast, just use those 2 sides of the screen to show where people are and where they will be with your product or service. Okay, so let's look at the heading. The new way to generate leads that's crushing PDFs and mini courses. So this is probably the experimenter, right? He found a new way that is crushing the ways of doing PDFs and mini courses. The Google update no one is ready for. So this one is probably more around the fortune teller. There's something coming up, right? That no one is ready for, that there is like something that might change. So that's the contrast that Neil Patel did here. And that's a very good way to hook people. The heading is very short, it's not so many wordy. Now, I'm just going to expose these. So you can see that, you know, I created the contrast, I got people hooked. How to build an audience with the heading, we're providing more context. The hook is the contrast. I learned how to surf in 5 days. So again, more context about what the video is about. Same thing with Facebook. How to win in business with AI. Test 100 different AI tools. Systemize with a clear strategy. Watch our webinar to see how we did it. So obviously a lot of people are using AI these days and trying different tools. This one is saying, I have a better approach to it. It gives you a clear strategy, probably save you time and stuff like that. So basically you can see he did the contrast here. And if I expose this, watch on demand to be in the 5% who survive. Watch now. He basically achieved that contrast here. All right, so we're going to go into the last golden rule and then I'll show you my click test. So the last golden rule is very much about creating a bold claim that achieves tension. Here's an example. This simple trick will double your leads. So creating a claim or a statement that is very powerful. So as you can see, broke, it's a statement. They're saying that Mr. Beast is broke. So that creates a lot of curiosity. This thumbnail alone achieved one of the golden rules, which was, if you remember, creating a question of how is he broke or why is he broke, and then also having a bold statement. It's happening again. So obviously that's a bold statement that there is another bull run coming. Zach's new future. It's a bold claim. Okay, what's the new future? It creates that curiosity, but essentially it is a claim that is written in the thumbnail. So as I showed you with the Mr. Beast video, a bold claim basically creates a question in the person who sees that claim or that thumbnail. So if your claim creates that question, then you have a very, very strong case for the thumbnail to get a lot of clicks. So your bold claim needs to create a question in your audience visitors. When it comes to marketing, I really try to keep things simple. I really want to, reduce the noise, reduce the amount of effort we put into our campaigns, our strategies in order to get better results, because especially now when like attention span is reducing significantly, especially in the younger generation. So the test, let's talk about that. Once you create your thumbnail, or once you create your Facebook ad, or whatever you're doing in terms of trying to grab people's attention and click onto your landing page or into your video, you really want to ask 3 questions. 1, does it spark a question? Is someone going to say why this happened or what XYZ after looking at your thumbnail and heading? Does it highlight extreme contrast? That contrast that we talked about, does it have that element in the design or in the heading? And does it feel specific to your audience desire or fear? So that means, like, are you targeting a specific audience? Remember when I first talked about like the visual representation? Which sort of person is going to be interested in that visual? And obviously in the question that you are creating within the thumbnail. Some examples. Let's start with Mr. Beast. So obviously a lot of people follow Mr. Beast. He creates a lot of content. A lot of people would want to know why he's broke. It's a big statement to say about this guy. Does it tick any of the boxes? So yes. Why is he broke? Does it highlight extreme contrast? How much money Mr. Beast makes? Doesn't really have the contrast element into it. Like, they don't really use that contract. And does it feel specific for the audience? So again, the audience is obviously people that are following or fans of Mr. Beast. So 2 out of the 3, then you got a winner. That's the test. Let's do another one. So does it spark a question? How to build an audience of buyers? Okay, so yes, people want buyers. So in this graph, it basically shows as views increase, this guy makes more money, this guy stays the same. So obviously there's a question there, and there's contrast. So 2 boxes. Obviously this also ticks the 3rd box because, you know, people that are looking to get views or to get sales for their YouTube channel. So this one ticks all the 3 boxes. Another one, how to blow up on social media. It's a good question to ask. So it sparks a question. So how does he do it? And then he creates contrast. 8 hours spent, I guess, on that video, only got 300 views. 2 hours spent on this video got 4 million views. So we got the contrast, we got the question, and obviously the audiences who are interested to blow up on social media. So when you're creating your next thumbnail, ask yourself, what is the question that I want people to ask themselves when they see my thumbnail? 2, what is the contrast I'm creating? What am I trying to show in this video that's changed, and how do I pose that? And then 3, who is the audience that I want to attract? Use those before creating your thumbnail. And then once you've done your thumbnail, go back to the test that I just showed you and ask yourself, does this thumbnail and heading make me ask a very deep question or a very strong question? Am I achieving contrast in my heading or in my thumbnail in some sort of form? And am I targeting the audience? If you're not hitting at least 2 of those 3, your thumbnail or Facebook ad might not perform as well. So have a look at that, check it out, try it for yourself. If you have any questions, just ask me in the comments below. I hope this video was very helpful for you. If you want to keep things simple in your marketing and achieve more with less, then definitely subscribe to the channel. That's what we're about, just creating good content that will basically help you get better results. And if you like that sort of content, please follow, subscribe, and like the video.